The Wake Forest Demon Deacons entered 2023 coming off of a little bit of a shaky campaign last season, but not a bad season at all last year. A lot of very close games. They won some, they lost some. And speaking of losing, well, there's a whole lot of talent that is going to be gone off of this Wake Forest team. However, expectations under Dave Clawson still remain high for this Wake Forest program. Will they be able to get back to a bowl game and maybe be a sleeper team in the ACC, or is this team going to start falling off in 2023? What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel. This is your first time here. I talk about college football, and this summer I'm previewing and predicting all 133 FBS college football teams, and that means I am doing your favorite teams. So hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you know when that video gets uploaded. Thank you guys so much for 1,000 subscribers. Truly does mean a lot to me. I appreciate all the support. And speaking of support, you guys can support my channel in more ways than just hitting that subscribe button. Hey, you're doing one right now by watching the video. You can do more by liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing. I always say subscribing instead of sharing. And anything else that you're willing and able to do to support my channel. Let's talk about Wake Forest football in 2023. Very interesting team coming out of the ACC. How do we do preview predictions around here? We go through a roster overview, look at who the team lost, who's coming back, and who's coming in through the transfer portal and recruiting class, as well as taking a look at the 2023 Demon Deacon football schedule. And we'll give it a game-by-game preview and prediction. So without further ado, talk about Wake Forest in 2023 in the quarterback room. Well, you lose a very big piece to this offense. It was one of the best offenses in the nation, and now, well, we'll see, but it was one of the best offenses in the nation under Sam Hartman when he was under center. 3,701 yards, 38 touchdowns to 12 interceptions. He has since transferred over to Notre Dame, and with some transfers going out of there, he'll probably end up being that starting quarterback there for the Fighting Irish in 2023. He gives them a lot of explosive ability. Sam Hartman was a very good quarterback for the Demon Deacons. However, there are still some good options even though Sam Hartman is gone. Mitch Griffis, I believe, will be that starter this year. Threw 41 passes last year, completed 29 of them for 348 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 1 pick. I do believe he is the better quarterback out of him and Michael Kern, who also comes back. And I believe Griffis possesses more of the ability that is needed with this Wake Forest team under Dave Clawson to be able to go ahead and win, right? And just win football games. I believe Mitch Griffis puts this team in the best position to do so. I believe he'll be that starter in 2023. Running back room, you do lose Christian Turner, who was your second leading rusher, 516 yards and 7 touchdowns. The 7 touchdowns on the ground led the team. And Quentin Cooley is gone as well with the team's third leading rusher, 51 carries, 246 yards, and 3 touchdowns last year. With anyone with 50 or more carries, he led the team in yards per carry with 4.8. However, your leading rusher does come back. That was Justin Ellison last season, 170 carries for him, 707 yards, 6 touchdowns on the ground. And then some backup options with Turner and Cooley gone. Will Towns and Demon Claiborne will see their carry number rise. Both of them were around the 10 to 15 mark last season for them. They should have increased carries this season. In the wide receiver room, you lose a very good weapon in A.T. Perry. 1,000-yard receiver, had 1,096 yards on 81 catches and 11 touchdowns last season. However, there's still a lot of talent in this wide receiver room. Yes, you lose a very explosive option with A.T. Perry, so a lot of explosiveness leaves this offense. But Donovan Green, Jamal Banks were both very good for the team last year, as was Taylor Morin. You have, quick math here, 23 receiving touchdowns coming from those 3 guys last year. Oh, and then throw on another one with Keyshawn Williams, minus A.T. Perry. Those were your top 4 receivers last year. All of them come back, and you're also getting a former 4-star out of high school, 3-star transfer over from Tennessee in Walker Merrill to help boost the wide receiver room, maybe to soften the blow of A.T. Perry. I don't know if they're quite going to be able to find his explosiveness this year, but there are still a lot of very good weapons in this wide receiver room for Mitch Griffis or Michael Kern, whoever happens to take the snaps under center this season. In the tight end room, you do lose Blake Whiteheart, who was your leading receiver among tight ends and your 6th leading receiver last year, 295 yards, 3 touchdowns for him. And then Yeager Bull also leaves, but Cameron Height and others return in this tight end room. On the offensive line, Sean McGinn and Javionte Nash are going to be leaving the offensive line. However, Michael Juergens, Spencer Clapp, Devontae Gordon, and more will be highlighting the offensive line for this team. So, yeah, you lose a lot of explosiveness, but if Mitch Griffis can step in and play pretty solid at the quarterback position, which I think he will, he's got a good group of wide receivers. His leading rusher comes back. There's still a lot to like about this Demon Deacon offense. Defensively, well, there's a lot of talent leaving this defense too, especially on the defensive line. Kobe Turner, Rondell Bothroyd, two very good pieces to this defensive line from last season. Bothroyd last year has had 6 sacks and 30 tackles. And Kobe Turner, another very, very good player for this team, 38 tackles, 2 sacks last season. Ja'Cory Johns also leaves, had 30 tackles and a sack last season, as well as Tyler Williams. He will be gone from last year's team as well. However, Jasheen Davis, your sack leader last season with 7 sacks, 33 tackles. He comes back. Kendron Wayman, Kevin Pointer, among some others, return on the defensive line. And you get a transfer coming over from Villanova and Bryce Ganias, however you pronounce that last name, I do apologize. So even with all the talent you lose, should still be a pretty solid defensive line. In the linebacking room, you take a huge hit here with Ryan Smenda declaring for the NFL. 111 tackles, 3 pass defended last year. 117 tackles. My apologies. He is leaving the team this season, again, to the NFL, as I just said. However, your second leading tackler in Chase Jones does come back, followed by Dylan Hazen, Quincy Bryant, and Jalen Hudson. Still a pretty solid linebacking room for the Demon Deacons. You also get a transfer in Jacob Roberts from, I believe, an FCS level program as well. And then in the defensive back room, Gavin Holmes, Isaiah Wingfield, and then Jamal Martin. All very solid players. Wingfield, I believe, was the team lead, or actually was one of the team leads last year with 6 passes defended. Gavin Holmes led the team with 9 passes defended last season. However, still some good talent here. Kalen Carson, Malik Mustafa, Chalon Garnes, and Evan Slocum, among others, still going to be good parts to the secondary this season. Didn't generate a lot of interceptions last year, but with the experience, probably could generate more this season. Your head coach is Dave Clawson, offensive coordinator Warren Regario, defensive coordinator Brad Lambert. As we take a look at the Demon Deacons schedule in 2023, hey, any game at home is going to be underlined, and any game on the road will be in italics or the slanted text. Any game you see in green is the game. I got the Demon Deacons winning easily. Any game in yellow is a team where, all right, the other team will put up a fight, or it's a very close back and forth game, but the Demon Deacons will win, in my opinion. And then red is a loss. You start out your season week 1. I believe that's a Thursday game against Elon. You'll be able to win that one. Find out what you have. See what Mitch Griffis really is. See what that offense is with losing their explosiveness with Hartman and Perry. And then that defense should be able to recoup from some of its losses as well. And then you got a very interesting non-con game with Vanderbilt. Now, some college football fans, maybe even some Demon Deacon fans, may be looking at this game saying, well, we beat them last year. It's Vanderbilt. We can move on. Not so fast. Vanderbilt is a very, very solid team coming in. Again, the only problem is they happen to play in the SEC, very competitive. So while the record at the end of the year may not show it, that's going to be a very competitive, very solid Vanderbilt team once it is all said and done. Would not surprise me to see Vanderbilt come in to the Demon Deacons house and be able to steal one there. But I think Wake Forest is just a little too equipped offensively. Yes, they lose some explosiveness, but still I think going to be a really good offense this year. Defense loses some pieces, but I believe they have everything they need to be able to play up to the talent level of Vanderbilt. In fact, I think they're more talented than that Commodore team. They got a lot of transfers leaving, and Wake Forest wins that non-con game against an SEC opponent. And then going on the road against Old Dominion, I think it's going to present its challenges this year. I really do. But Old Dominion losing some valuable pieces through the transfer portal. Maybe that's a game you highlight in yellow. Maybe it's a game that Old Dominion ends up pulling off an upset in. But overall, I do see Wake Forest being able to win that game. And then I think you start out 4-0 with a win at home against Georgia Tech. Now, Georgia Tech, that's a sleeper team in the ACC this season. Do not count out the Yellow Jackets this year. You got a new head coach in Brent Key, and I know Jeff Sims and a lot of other talent is gone, but there are also some really, really good pieces coming into that team through the portal. Recruiting is starting to get a little better for that program as well. Georgia Tech is a team that's going to be trending in the right direction here in the next couple of years, and they could make life very difficult for a lot of teams in the ACC this season. However, I believe the Demon Deacons still be able to win. I think they, again, have a little too much on offense for that Georgia Tech defense to handle. Then you get your bye week here. Hey, you're starting out 4-0. You got some pretty good wins under your belt. However, your first game out of the bye week is not necessarily favorable. Now, this is the team that was very, very close to losing to the Demon Deacons last year in the Clemson Tigers, but a lot of those pieces that helped Wake Forest keep that game competitive are going to be gone this year, and you have to go on the road and play in Death Valley. I believe that you're going to end up losing that game. There's a new offensive coordinator coming to town with Garrett Riley. I believe he's very talented. Look at what he did with TCU the season before. Let him do a national championship game. And that defense will be as good as ever. Wake Forest won't be able to keep up on the road. They will lose to Clemson. And I thought about making this next game a loss here as well. As ACC and college football fans may know, Blacksburg, one of the toughest places to play in the entire country, no matter how good that team is. But Brent Pry's group, I think, is going to struggle again this year to start finding those wins. It's going to be a competitive game. Virginia Tech is going to hang around. They usually do at home. But Wake Forest, I see being able to go in there and take that win from the Virginia Tech Hokies. Then you come back home and you got a game against Pitt. I think Pitt's going to be a very solid football team this year. You lose Keaton Slovis, but he was a little underwhelming at quarterback for them. Enter Phil Jurkovec, former Boston College quarterback, who, if he can stay healthy, that's going to be a very solid Pitt offense who's got a lot of nice pieces. And defensively, I know they lost some key contributors, but there's still a lot of good talent on that defense. I believe Pitt will be coming to the Demon Deacons' house and handing them a loss, their second loss on the season. But again, you only need one more win, and it's okay. You get another game at home. Who is it against? It's against the Florida State Seminoles. That's going to be a very hard game for them, and I think it's a game they drop. Florida State's got a Heisman contender at quarterback with Jordan Travis and a lot of good weapons offensively, a lot of good size in that wide receiver room, and a very talented player in Keon Coleman coming in over from Michigan State. Defensively, they added some really nice transfers. They got a lot of versatility, especially in the defensive front seven. Really like what the Seminoles have for 2023. I think Mike Norvell's group is going to be a top 10 team in the nation. Wake Forest, I think, will lose that game. And I also believe they're going to lose to Duke. Duke returns pretty much everybody offensively. Riley Leonard has got a really good group of wide receivers, some pretty good options at running back. Defensively, that defensive line returns almost everyone. And yeah, there's some questions in the linebacking group and secondary. But I think offensively alone, Wake Forest, I do not believe is going to be able to keep up. There are some solid pieces on this Demon Deacon defense to be able to slow them down. And the offense could make this game pretty competitive here too. I just think Riley Leonard and Duke has too much firepower. They're going to be able to win that game with their offense. Defensive line will be able to get pressure to Griffiths there as well. Then you come back home, though, you get to play the NC State Wolfpack. NC State's got an overhaul at the quarterback position. Devin Leary is gone. He had some health problems. You got Ben Finley transferring out there as well. Enter Brennan Armstrong, the former Virginia Cavalier. I think he's going to be a very solid option for them, although he's got some new weapons to work with in the wide receiver room. And NC State's going to play a very aggressive brand of defense this year, but Wake Forest has had their opportunities. I think Pitt was a winnable game. Duke was a winnable game for them. I do not believe they're going to let this one slip away. Wake Forest claims their bowl game spot with a win over the NC State Wolfpack. I think Mitch Griffiths and company are going to end up making some plays against this NC State defense to help Wake Forest to a nice win. However, your last two games of the year are pretty challenging, one of them being one of the most challenging games on this schedule on the road against Notre Dame. You got to face your former quarterback, Sam Hartman. He's got a lot of weapons around him, especially some freshmen that are going to be really good for this Notre Dame team. And that defense, while it does lose some good pieces, I think has a lot of great talent on it. Notre Dame, if everything goes right, could be a playoff contender this year on the road in South Bend. I just see Sam Hartman being able to beat his former team. Too much explosiveness coming from Sam Hartman. Notre Dame wins the game. Defense will help out as well. And then on the road at Syracuse, the Dome is not kind to a lot of opponents. I don't believe it'll be kind to Wake Forest this year. I think Garrett Schrader and company will be able to win that game against Wake Forest, but I still have the Demon Deacons making a bowl game here. Now, I believe Griffiths has a lot of weapons offensively, and that's going to be a pretty solid offense. Defensively, I think the defense is going to let them down in some games, but I also could see it winning them some games as well. All in all, I think this is still going to be a pretty solid team. I got a record of 6-6 for the Demon Deacons, and let me know your thoughts on this team in the comment section below. As always, Remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. See all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.